is to have a trusted center that retain a directory of public key. This certificate is broadcasted to the public. We have a well-known certificate known as X509. The validation of the certificate will be expired, but the Delta revocation can revocate the list at any time when it is provoked. Hello students, welcome to the next session of Network Security. In this session, let's know about the public key distribution. As we know, in digital signature, we use a private key and a public key generated by the sender system. How does this public key is distributed among the public? Let's know about all these concepts. The first thing is, how does the public key is distributed in the general? The receivers are public receivers. How do you distribute them? Okay, so in asymmetric key cryptography, people need to know a symmetric shared key, which is approved by both the sender and the receiver. Everyone shields a private key. No one is going to share their private key. Only a public key is advertised or displayed for the public users, isn't it? Or receivers. So first thing you need to know is public announcement. How does the public announcement is done in a public key cryptography or asymmetric key cryptography? Okay, the basic approach or the easiest approach is to announce the key publicly to everyone. It will be distributed and announced publicly to everyone or is broadcasted to everyone. The receiver can put his public key on his website. So a receiver who generates the public key can put his public key on his website or announce it in a local or national newspaper. This is also possible to publish the public key in a newspaper or any web page, local or any type of national newspaper. Okay, so this is the diagram. He is the receiver who generates a public key as well as a private key. He will keep the private key with himself. Then public key is distributed or broadcasted to all the people. All publicly it will be announced. Okay. Apart from that, you can have a trusted center. You can use a trusted center to make that more secure approach. This is the one, is to have a trusted center that retain a directory of public key. One of the disadvantage of announcing public key is even attacker can get the public key. He may try to send the message, forged message from a authenticated sender, and because public key is available to everyone, attacker may get it and try to impersonate some authenticated sender and can send the message in the form of a authenticated sender. That is one of the danger that can be happening in a public announcement of the key. The more secured measure is to have a trusted center. What does the trusted center will do is, it will maintain a directory of public key generated by all the receivers. Okay, public key is made as a directory, as we have the telephone directory. A public key associated with a receiver's identity will be maintained in the directory of public keys. So the sender or the receiver who generates a public key can send it to the trusted center, maintains the directory with the identity as well as the public key. Okay, how does it is controlled? How does it is managed is, so we have a diagrammatic representation of controlled trusted center. How does it is going to work? Okay, here we have a sender, Alice, and the Bob. We have a Bob's public key here. There will be a timestamp set for the key. The Alice or an authenticated sender requests for a Bob's key with a timestamp. Timestamp may be any, maybe microsecond or nanosecond, 2 microseconds, 3 nanoseconds, like that. You can have a timestamp. The Alice sends the request to the trusted center for accessing permission to access the or to get the public key of the Bob. Okay, needs Bob's key. That request will be sent to trusted center. Now, trusted center, what it will do is, it will have a certificate or it will maintain the directory, isn't it? From this directory, the signature of the trusted center will be taken, stating that this is the key of the Bob. To confirm the Alice, the identity has been sent along with the request. So, what does the trusted center will do is, it will have a copy of the public key stored in the directory and sends with signed by the center's private key. So, center itself will have a private key for each of the public key. It signs that public key with its private key and is sent to the sender or is transmitted to the sender along with the public key that is stored by the Bob. So, the trusted sender sends the signed public key along with the timestamp and signed by its private key. So, Alice checks for the timestamp. If the message has been obtained within the timestamp, the message is read by the sender and key will be obtained by the sender. If the message is not received within a timestamp, the next message that is received will be rejected, which means that the attacker may have sent the message to the Alice or some random public key may have been sent by the attacker to forge the public key of Bob. This is one thing. This is the controlled trusted center, where the trusted center controls the transmission of the public key to the sender. Okay, only upon request by the sender along with the timestamp, the trusted center is going to transmit the public key of a receiver. Okay, this is the controlled trusted center. Then we have the certification authority. What does this certification authority will do? So, certification authority will have a certificate. How to know that this is the same Bob which has stored, Bob is the original receiver who has stored a public key. How does he know? Whenever there is a sender, authenticated sender, how does the sender knows that Bob is the authenticated receiver who has generated a public key? May attacker have obtained or may attacker have published a public key and have stored in the trusted center? How does it is going to ensure that is using a certification authority or CA, you can tell it in short. Okay, the trusted center will issue a certificate to the receiver who stores the public key in the trusted center. Okay, so we have the certification authority which is mainly used to deliver a certificate to the receiver who is having or who is storing a public key in the trusted center. Why do you need a certificate is, if there is only limited number of requests coming to the trusted center, it can easily manage the request. But if the request for storing the public key is exceeds and is very large, you can't handle that much workload by a trusted center. So what you can do is, you can make the provision of delivering a certificate to the receiver who is going to store the public key in a trusted center. So what is the procedure in delivering a certificate is, first thing is the receiver requests or applies for storing the public key in the trusted center. He sends public key to the trusted center, which will be stored in some of the memory location in its trusted center. So it will be recorded. Then the certificate will be issued to the receiver, which contains the sign of the certificate authority, which is a private key. The trusted center releases a certificate authority private key, which will be included in the Bob's certificate with Bob's identity and the information and the signature of the certificate authority, and is broadcasted. This certificate is broadcasted to the public. It is distributed all over the public with the certificate of the Bob. That means Bob is the authenticated receiver. So that the certificate, the intention of having a certificate is so that the attacker will not forge the receiver's identity. So this certificate will be used by the senders to request for a public key about a particular receiver, or the public key stored by a receiver will be accessed using the certificate. For this purpose, we have the certification authority that will be issued by the trusted center's certification authority controls. Okay. Now, this shows the format of a certificate. We have a well-known certificate known as X509. It is a certificate given by the trust center or trusted center to any receiver. So, this is the format of a certificate. It has the version number, serial number, signature algorithm ID, issuer name, validity period, from which time to which time it is valid, subject name, subject is the receiver, receiver's name, receiver's public key. These are optional. Issuer unique identifier, the certificate who is going to be the person, authorized person to release the certificate. Then subject unique identifier, subject is the receiver. And if there is any extension to the certificate available, that will be here. And lastly, we'll have a signature function. Okay. So this will be used for a hash algorithm. It is used by a hash algorithm to generate a message digest. You can observe here, we can generate a message digest using the hash algorithm. For that digest, signature algorithm is applied, which is signed with the certificate authority's private key to authenticate the receiver. Okay, signature algorithm is executed. Now, when the signed algorithm is executed, the digest will be signed by the certification authority, which states that the sender is using an authenticated receiver's public key, not the attacker's public key. Only authenticated receiver's public key has been given to the sender. This will be confirmed by the signed message digest, okay, which will be stored in the trusted center public key with the hash algorithm ID, the cipher ID, and the corresponding parameters of the function will be stored in the certificate or will be entered in the certificate. Okay. So, the fields of, if you know about the fields of the certificate, the first thing you need to know is the version number. Version number defines the version of X509. Which version of X509 is used for creating a certificate. Then we have the serial number, defines a number assigned to each certificate. For uniqueness of the certificate, each certificate will have a serial number. Then we have the signature algorithm ID. It identifies the algorithm used to sign the certificate, the ID. And we have the issuer name, okay, identifies the certification used to sign the certificate. Which function we are using to sign the message will be given in the issuer name. Then we have the validity period, defines the earliest time and the latest time the certificate is valid, the range of timestamp from starting to the end, and at which timestamp the validity of the certification ends will be specified in the validity period. And we have the subject name. Subject name defines the entity to which the public key belongs or the authenticated receiver of the public key. Then we have subject public key defines the owner's public key, the heart of the certificate. It is the heart of the certificate, which is the subject public key. Then we have issue unique identifier. So this optional field, these are the optional field, allows two issuers to have the same issuer field value. If you have two issuers to authenticate a certificate, it will be specified in the issue unique identifier. Then we have subject unique identifier. Again, this is also an optional field, allows two different subjects. We use two different subjects to have the same subject field value. Two users or two receivers can use same identifier, which can be termed as unique identifier. Okay? Two different subjects or two different receivers to have the same subject field value. If the subject ID is same, then it will be mentioned in the subject unique identifier. Then we have some extensions. What does this will do? This is also an optional field. What does this extension field will do? Allows issuer to add. What they can add? More private information to the certificate. So you can add more private information to the certificate. Lastly, we have the signature made of 3 sections. Signature is made of 3 sections. The first section contains all other fields in the certificate. What are all needed? IDs, identifiers, and all the details will be there in the first section of the certificate. Second section contains digest of the first section, that is the message digest will be there. And the third section contains the algorithm identifier to identify which algorithm has been used to put the signature or to sign the certificate will be specified in the signature part of the certificate. Okay. The next thing is to know about the certificate renewal. The thing is, we know about the fields of the certificate. It has a validation period, isn't it? At the particular timestamp, the validation of the certificate will be expired. So what we have to do, if the user or the receiver wants to extend the certificate period, validation period, that can be done using a certificate renewal function. Okay, each certificate will have a period of validity. If there is no problem with the certificate, there is no issue with the certificate, the certificate authority or certification authority issues a new certificate before the old one expires. This is the renewal procedure. Next is certificate revocation. There may be some situation where the certification must be revoked before its expiration, revoked or taken back or reverted back from the receiver. There are certain situations where it can be necessary to initiate a certification revocation. What are the situation is, one situation may be where the public key is no longer used by the receiver and the receiver has renewed the public key. In such a case, issuing certificate to the old public key will not work, is of no use, isn't it? For that purpose or for that reason, there may be the necessity of revocation of the certificate. Another is the receiver has a public key which is issued for which the certificate is issued by the trusted center. Now the receiver may not be working in the same organization, may be working in some other organization. There the public keys generated by the user is different. So now the public key that is stored by the user or the receiver when working in the same organization may not be valid afterwards, isn't it? Once the user leaves that organization or any enterprise or company, if that person leaves that company, that key generated by the user, which is useful for that organization, may not be useful for the new one. So there is a necessity of again running a revocation for the certificate with the old public key. Sometimes there may be situation where the certification authority's private key itself may be compromised. Somebody may have obtained the private key of certification authority. In such a time also, we have to delete or revoke all the certificates issued by the certification authority. So what is the procedure that a trusted center will follow to revoke the certificate is, periodically it will run a certificate revocation list, which is called as the CRL or certificate revocation list. This list contains all the IDs of the receiver or the user whose public key has to be revoked or whose certificate has to be revoked from the trusted center and is of no use afterwards. So in such a case, the revocation of the certificate will be done by the trusted center. We use another revocation method known as the delta revocation. What does this will do is, to make revocation more efficient, the delta certificate revocation list will be introduced, which revocates the certificate more efficiently than the normal certificate revocation list. So, advantage of delta revocation is, normal revocation process will revocate only in the certain time period, within this time period or within this month, like that. But the delta revocation can revocate the list at any time when it is provoked or when it is started or when that algorithm is executed. The delta revocation list creates or the CRL will be created and the certificates will be revocated at any time. So this is about the revocation method. Then we have the public key infrastructures. What does this will do? So PKI or the public key infrastructure is a model for creating, distributing and revoking the certificates. All these things will be done by one tool or model which is called as the public key infrastructure tool or model, which is based on the X509 model of certification. Okay, so we have listed some duties of the public key infrastructure, that is, one is certificate issuing, renewal as well as the revocation, then storage, keys storage and updation, providing services to other protocols and providing access control to the users of the trusted center. We have the trust model here, PKI hierarchical model we have. The certification authority will have copies CA1, CA2 and CA3. Each certification authority will issue certificates for different number of users. Some may go for 3 number of users, some for 2 users, again some for 3 users. Okay. X to Y means X has signed a certificate for Y. So we can take CA1 pointing to user 1. Like this, you can specify how the certificates are issued to the user by different certification authorities. So example is, show how user 1 knowing only the public key of the certificate authority, the key of only the root, can obtain a verified copy of the user 3's public key. So one solution you can give is user 3 sends a chain of certificates by CA, CA1, CA1 to user 3 to user 1. Now user 1 validates the certification authority by first and second person using the public key of the first authority. Then the user 1 extracts the public key of CA1 from the list of certification authorized persons. Then the user 1 validates the CA1 user 3's public key using the public key of CA1. Now the user 1 extracts the public key of the user 3 from the list of CA1 to user 3. This is how you can extract certificate of some other users. Some web browsers like Netscape and Internet Explorer include a set of certificates from independent roots. They get the certificate from independent roots without a single high-level authority to certify each root. There will be no high-level authority to recognize the root or certify the root, but they obtained the set of certificates from independent roots that are not depending on the trusted center. One can find the list of these roots in the Internet Explorer at Tools, Internet Options, Contents, Certificate, Trusted Roots. By going this path, you can know the roots from which the certificates have been obtained. The user then can choose any of this root and view the certificate of the third party or use the certificate of a receiver, request receiver. Here we have the mesh model. You can check root 1, checking the certificates of other roots. Okay. So this is the diagrammatic representation. Another example you can have is Alice is under the authority of root 1. It is a CA1 or CA. Bob is under the authority of root 4, another CA. Then show how Alice can obtain the Bob's verified public key. The solution you can give is Bob sends a chain of certificates from root 4 to Bob. The Alice looks at the directory of root 1, who are all the certification authorities they have and who are the users, to find the root 1 and root 4 certificates. Using the process shown in the previous diagram, Alice can verify the Bob's public key. This is how a public key can be verified by other users. This is all about the public key distribution in a asymmetric key cryptography. Thank you.